My name is Adam O'Toole, and I'll be sharing some perspectives on IoT within manufacturing. I'm really keen to be part of this event, very passionate about this topic. And actually, on the camera feed just before I joined, there was a previous workshop happening documenting the challenges with OT and IT. And that's actually a particularly relevant discussion for what I'm going to speak about. I can certainly relate to all those challenges. So unfortunately, I'm not there in person, but I will be online over the course of the event and available to connect with afterwards. So I have a pre-recorded session today, and Chris is going to play that, and I'll pop back on at the end for Q&A. So hope you enjoy. So over to you, Chris, I think, to play that, please. The ongoing global pandemic has put public health and subsequently pharma manufacturing and supply chain in the spotlight like never before. The realities of the inefficiencies have been exposed, and this is accelerating the need for a digital transformation. And those who don't act will ultimately fall behind. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak about smart pharma manufacturing. Apologies, I can't be there in person today, but I hope to meet many of you at a future event. My name is Adam O'Toole, and I have a passion for technology, continuously thinking of ways that technology can revolutionize existing ways of working. Having begun my career in engineering in roles such as software programming, robotics and automation, manufacturing, I'm now in the fortunate position of being able to apply my passion at Novartis, where I'm responsible for defining the technology strategy within manufacturing and engineering across our global site network. Although I'm technical and an engineer at heart, I won't be talking about specific solutions in this presentation, but I am going to talk about the fundamental building blocks required for success. The fundamental building blocks to achieve smart pharma manufacturing. I'll also outline the 3 key steps towards achieving this based on some of the pitfalls I've witnessed so far. But firstly, let's touch on the topic of digital twin, something I'll be referring to throughout this presentation. What is a digital twin? And I'd like to start with a very simple example. In an ever-increasing digital world, digital twins are ubiquitous. They're all around us. And I'm not specifically referring to 3D models or virtual reality or augmented reality. The truth is that there are many types of digital twins. It depends on what we're twinning, be it an object, a process, a system, or even you. For those of you wearing some form of a fitness tracker like a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, a Garmin, or even your phone in your pocket, what you may not realize is that this is generating a digital twin of you via data, sending and receiving from the cloud, from an internet-connected device on your wrist or in your pocket. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I, like many others, have been keeping up my own fitness through running and cycling, been tracking my activities in applications such as Strava, Map My Run, to gain insights into my performance and help me identify areas of improvement. The point I'm making is that I can see my performance in real time through different data generated from my heart rate, my location, my steps, my elevation. I could go a step further, supplementing this data with my nutrition, sleep tracking, to really understand the variables affecting performance. The point I'm making is the more information that we have, the greater insights we can get to adapt performance and make decisions. So that's a very basic example, but all the major companies are in a race for data, be it the Amazons, Google, Facebooks of the world, for instance, as data will be the competitive advantage in the future. So a holistic data in a digital twin fed by multiple data sets and internet-connected devices, IoT, provides insights leading to a deeper understanding and overall improvement opportunities. So what's all this got to do with the pharma industry? And that leads me on to the vision, the first step in the journey towards smart pharma manufacturing. Defining what problem or challenge we want to solve, what we are twinning, So start with why. And honestly, this is a fundamental prerequisite to the technology side of things. Sponsors and key stakeholders right through the organization have to align on understanding that vision, the approach, and ultimately the business value. So what if instead of wanting to optimize running from A to B, and we replace this with the optimization of manufacturing and supplying medicine, where we can take any node along the overall supply chain and gain insights and knowledge to optimize and adapt, and leverage the powers of data, advanced analytics, and AI, the technologies that have been dangled in front of all of us as the solutions to all our problems. But really, if we can take any node along the process of supplying and manufacturing medicine and understand in real time what's going on, I mean, that's the holy grail, right? This opens up a world of opportunities. And in Novartis, our ambition is to be the leading focused medicines company, powered by data science and digital technologies, utilizing the latest technologies to empower the pharma value chain, delivering drugs at a faster rate, a higher quality, and ultimately at a cheaper cost to patients around the world. In our operations, we produce almost 70 billion units a year, supplying products to more than 800 million patients around the globe, manufacturing a spectrum of treatments across large molecules, small molecules, to genetically engineered cell and gene therapies that are personalized to an individual level. The combination of this manufacturing requires our manufacturing processes to be more visible, predictable, efficient, and more adaptable than ever before. So smart manufacturing, or smart factory, is my focus area today. The area where the greatest opportunities lie for improving those metrics on the right, but also where the challenges are quite unique. This leads on to step 2. Create the data and technology framework to achieve this at scale. So we know what we want, what's needed to get there. As we know, pharma has some ground to make up and is behind other industries in terms of technology, with manual processes and low supplier visibility. And this lack of digital maturity contributes to those higher costs of drug products and unpredictable production delays. Some of you may have seen this Industry 4 Maturity Index before, outlining the maturity stages and steps towards autonomous and predictive manufacturing. The stages towards achieving a digital twin with capabilities to self-optimize. And it's based on the premise that you must digitize before you digitalize. In reality, the pharma industry as a whole is somewhere between stage 2 and stage 3, trying to move from digital solution implementation to more analytics phase. However, if you don't have a good foundation, you'll struggle with the rest. Unfortunately, we don't all have the luxury of starting from ground zero, like the car manufacturer Tesla, for instance, and build ourselves to be fully digitally integrated and data-driven in manufacturing and supply right from the start. We have to work with many existing and legacy technologies and retrospectively try and apply this. And for pharma manufacturing, it starts with replacing those paper-based systems with digital ones, and then integrating and connecting these systems in the right way. This provides the platform for seeing what's happening, understanding why it's happening, and ultimately predicting what will happen before it happens. At the final stage, processes have ability to self-optimize and predict in advance. For example, we might detect that there's a part shortage and automatically trigger an order in the ERP system, or detect that maintenance is due on a machine, which is required for meeting a production order, and automatically trigger an early maintenance order to avoid those production delays. This is smart pharma manufacturing. The reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because, coming from an engineering background, I can personally relate to the pain points of disconnected data sets and trying to pursue digital solutions at site level, working with different vendors on solutions which promise some of the latter concepts, but then always struggling to really get to the more transformational predictive stages of the journey. And I'm sure many of you can relate. What I'm really referring to is achieving smart pharma at scale. The strategy to get from here to here, the digital twin, is complicated. So what does a good foundation look like? And the digital foundation for Smart Factory certainly starts with data. We need to define how we collect and channel the information we need from manufacturing sites to avoid different data silos. We fundamentally need those digital systems, which replace manual and paper at sites, generating the data. And then our data strategy needs to come in. We really need to agree how we're going to structure this data at scale, govern this data when we grow these pipelines from sites. Data governance is key. We need a centralized way to take and manage the data flows coming from sites in a secure manner. Effectively, we need an overall data framework allowing us to generate the specific data required for the questions that we want to answer. And when data can be used to tell a story, that's where we gain insight. The digital foundation that we've been working on so far looks something like this. Like many others, we began with a more top-down approach with an enterprise cloud and analytics platform with all of the latest and greatest analytics, AI, machine learning, and data management capabilities. A single data science platform harnessing all our data from supply chain, quality, manufacturing systems, and other areas of the business. But this is just one part of the puzzle. We then approached use case by use case to take data from global systems like our ERP, quality, and manufacturing areas, making data pipelines to the cloud. And this is probably what many of you are doing today. And I'll admit something here. We have had and are having success with this approach for high value use cases in manufacturing, but we have some gaps and scaling can be a struggle as we need to justify return on investment for all these different IoT solution implementations. And here's why. We need to focus on this infrastructure here, the area I've circled. This is the challenge area where it's complex and costly to run those data pipelines due to the diverse nature of systems and different vendor solutions that we have. The area of IT to OT integration and data exchange. In other words, IIoT, the industrial Internet of Things. If you notice, the arrows in this area are not just one way, they're bidirectional. So we need ability to take learnings from advanced analytics and send information back to the factory floor, allowing us to become digitally integrated in our factories. This is the challenge area of focus for achieving smart pharma manufacturing, and it's at the edge where the areas of IT and OT converge. So we need a universal standardized approach to data piping across the enterprise, which is industrial Internet of Things at scale. So I'm going to hone in on this circle here now to explain what I mean by a digital foundation, a foundation that enables us to have a digital twin for all this data, allowing us to optimize our overall manufacturing efficiency and performance. For those of you familiar with manufacturing, you are probably familiar with the ISA 95 model, which depicts a hierarchy of digital systems or nodes from sensors, machines, and equipment on the shop floor, right the way up to the ERP and cloud layers. Sometimes it's shown in a triangle model. And this is the typical way we pipe data in manufacturing today, upwards. So let's, for instance, call this Industry 3.0, vertical integration. And it's based on a hierarchical architecture. The data chain is broken if one layer is missing, for instance. And typically we have projects and use cases to implement systems into the stack where they don't exist today, like MES, for instance. We have projects to integrate this system to this system or this one to this one as the use cases arise. And ultimately this leads to complex and costly integrations where we have many discrete system to system connections. So the seamless flow of data is missing. This approach is project-based, going use case by use case, requiring a quantified return on investment each time. And I challenge any of you to review your system landscapes today, and you'll see hundreds upon hundreds of point-to-point integrations from all these systems. The method of communicating between all these layers is so diverse and it differs from vendor to vendor. The interfaces are not common or standard, restricting the flow of data. So there's a real need to focus on information flow. And maybe some of you put some software middleware in to simplify integration, or purchase some different solutions that help with data extraction. And part of the reason that innovation in manufacturing hasn't really taken off is because all this costs so much because of this complexity. And I can recall my time in engineering doing root cause analysis, manually collecting data from various layers of this stack, trying to understand production issues. And very little has changed today. Perhaps some of you, like us by the way, have delivered some standalone use cases for industrial Internet of Things using AWS, Azure, or many of the different other vendor solutions out there, taking data from any area of this stack and delivering some of those high value use cases that leverage the cloud. And this has certainly helped in the shift towards industrial Internet of Things. But in reality, this is just another data pipeline. It can be valid for high value use cases, but it can be very hard to scale, and it doesn't necessarily help us to get to that holy grail of the digital twin. And all of these solutions are like separate tunnels for our data today. A paradigm shift is needed for Industry 4.0. And this is where an IIoT digital strategy can really transform this traditional approach. A major concept of Industry 4.0 is hybrid integration, where anything can connect to anything. A hub and spoke architecture, where we have closed loop data flows, data subscribers and consumers, a solution for overall data management in this area. In other words, a digital twin foundation. And this is really where I see the value of industrial Internet of Things for manufacturing, leveraging IIoT technology to massively simplify how we do integration, where we decouple our core systems, greatly reducing integration complexity. Effectively, we create a data highway instead of a data pipeline. This gives us bidirectional communications to any layer for decision making. We can leverage the cloud and AI machine learning to tell us anything about the various stages of manufacturing production. And engineers of today can focus on more high value tasks instead of data collection. There are hundreds of IoT vendors out there, but interoperability is key. Coexisting with existing tech is fundamental. And everyone here will have nuances with the technologies and vendors that they use. But one thing is common, is that there is usually such diversity in how these layers talk to each other that a hybrid solution is required. So for the vendors here today, interoperability, modularity, open architecture, OT, IT data management are really key focus areas required for covering this existing pain point in a digital factory concept. Moving traditionally disconnected facilities into digitally integrated facilities is the goal. And success in this area can provide competitive advantage. Leading into the final stage, I thought this quote was quite appropriate. The goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. So this is an example of what we've achieved so far and are continuing to build towards. Some examples of displays at our production sites on tablets, mobile devices and display screens, the progress that we've made on our digital twin journey so far. On the left, we have a dashboard at one site showing top level KPIs and overall plant health status. We can see planned versus actual on metrics like quality, throughput time, average lead times, breakdown of performance for different product brands. We can also see here in this graphic on the left, a breakdown of the production stages, stages on time in blue, behind in orange, and stages with issues in red. And this empowers production personnel to instantly see a virtual replica of production plant performance at a glance. On the right, we have a timeline view and breakdown of different batches and production stages, where they are versus target, allowing us to respond to issues in real time proactively, reducing throughput time. It's not something we're fully ready to scale up across all our sites just yet, due to the challenges with integration just mentioned. and the time it's taken to unlock this. For some sites, it can very much depend on where they sit on the digital maturity curve that I referred to earlier on. But going beyond that, we are really focusing our efforts on data harmonization and integration at scale at the edge within our factories. For issues and investigations, we have the ability now to determine root cause or gain deeper insights. We can drill down and look at the performance of individual machines in the manufacturing process. And this graphic shows, for instance, the current performance of a single production analyzer. We can see production rates, the time the machine was down, idle, all depicted by the different colors and time periods. Ultimately, the OE, or overall equipment effectiveness. And this gives live information that was typically buried in different sources before at the touch of a button. And issues in production can be easily diagnosed. But there's a need to think beyond just displays and visuals that tell us what to do. We need something more powerful for a digital twin. And this is where the AI element comes in, the exciting part. This digital framework is powered by artificial intelligence. So going that one step further, not just knowing what is happening at our production plants, but gaining insights into what will happen before it happens. We then become proactive in our response to issues instead of reactive. AI machine learning algorithms can spot trends in the collected data sets, predicting to a high degree of accuracy when drug batches are going to ship, where the issues are going to be, and ultimately trigger automatic actions to address them. So when I think back to my own time as an engineer trying to piece together those information sets, working with the operations team, trying to diagnose root cause of failures and reduce downtime. Now with strong integration linked to AI and good data flows, this all becomes a distant memory where the algorithms can figure it out for us. This is far more advanced than what we can achieve with our own data collections, where this can provide insights on our processes that we didn't think possible. So we're ultimately the limitation when it comes to data analysis. And people will always be needed to prepare the data to send to the artificial intelligence. But this is all becoming a reality for us now. It's the journey we're on at Novartis. And getting to that holy grail will ultimately be a game changer for us and I believe the pharma industry in general. So interestingly, this is still only the tip of the iceberg. In the area I focused on today, smart manufacturing. In Novartis, we now have real-time visibility of our site performance and ability to predict manufacturing issues ahead of time. I shared a sample of what's been done so far and what we're trying to build towards. We have ongoing developments and planned projects in other areas of the pharma value chain to come, and are focusing our efforts on that overall integration, like I mentioned. And all of this is building up to the vision of a full site and network level digital twin. And this is and will continue to lead to more efficient delivery of drugs at a cheaper cost for patients around the world. So recapping on the 3-step journey, we start with a vision. We establish a digital foundation, which incorporates a data strategy and good architecture. And we then grow and scale to build up the holistic digital twin picture with the data. So to summarize, a digital twin should be the ultimate goal and aspiration for optimizing the pharma value chain. And going back to what I said at the start, the manufacturing digital twin, it's much like your fitness tracking and your wearables. The more broadly we think about it and the more info you feed it, the more meaningful it becomes. I covered the Novartis why at the very beginning, and the business will not be the only beneficiaries of improved and more visible manufacturing processes. It's patients who will reap these rewards. So when it comes to the journey, the how, this is defined by 3 steps as I outlined in the presentation. To implement successfully at scale, you need to think big, think multi-site. And I certainly have no doubt there are more sophisticated digital twins out there than what I previewed today using some impressive technologies. But the real challenge for the pharma industry, however, is scaling that technology across sites to get that true holistic picture. So if you have to take one thing from today and are implementing digital manufacturing solutions in your organization, just step back and consider how this will integrate into that larger vision. So what we're doing at Novartis is putting a lot of energy into the framework and that foundation for this to be done at scale, working on organizational technology and digital components to enable that holistic picture of the value chain. So I hope you can take something from this presentation today, and together we can all influence the future of embracing technology to shift us towards smart pharma. I'm excited by what this will mean for the future and how the pharma manufacturing industry will change as a result. So thank you for the opportunity to share this journey with you today. Thank you to AMG for setting this whole event up. If you had any eureka moments, I'd love to hear them. If you see any flaws in what I've said or would like to challenge in any way, I'd love to hear your feedback. Or if you just simply want to reach out so that we can collaborate, share some thoughts and ideas, of course, I'm also open to that. So I know I didn't cover any specific solutions in this presentation, but you're welcome to reach out to me for more detailed conversations around this if you'd like to. And any questions I didn't get around to answering, please feel free to get in touch over the course of this event or via the details listed here. Thank you.
Thank you both. Can you hear me, Alan?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm back online now, so hello everyone.
Hello. Thank you very much. Again, share that you can't be here in person, but of course you understand, and it's great to see you virtually. We do have time for some questions, so I'll just push it out to the audience now. Does anybody have a question? If so, just please raise your hand. If I could just ask you to state your name and the organisation as well, please.
Jake Buchanan, Sereno Therapeutics. I really enjoyed your presentation and took a lot of notes. You said digitize before digitalization. Could you expound upon that? So I've been with a lot of different pharma companies, but I'm with Sereno Therapeutics right now, and we're paper-based, but we're building a very large plant. And so taking a paper-based system and old practices and processes in engineering and quality manufacturing. I was trying to, as you were speaking, envision how we could get to a digital state. And so the concept of digitize before digitalization really ran it through. It seems almost insurmountable. I'm getting there from where we are right now. So any advice?
Yeah, I could just about pick up what you're saying, but yeah, digitize before digitalize is definitely true, because we can't just generate data if the data doesn't exist in the first place. So that data either has to come from a digital system suited to cover that capability in your business, whether that be manufacturing, quality area, labs. We put a lot of effort, say for instance in Novartis, into those digital initiatives to digitize our core business processes. And then once we have those in place, then that provides a platform for generating the data from your processes that you need to kind of achieve most of those digitalization initiatives. But if you'd like to connect with me for some more advice, it's very hard to know, but I'm certainly happy to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll reach out. So that was a great answer. Thank you very much. So if you're going to have a digital strategy, and you begin with the end in mind, and then you essentially have to get all of your process digitized so that it can be consumed by the platform, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So notice on your slide you didn't include the computerized maintenance management system for maintenance, for calibration, for tracking all of the assets, the asset management system.
That'd be there also. I'm not sure what specific slide you're referring to, probably from the one depicting the data flows coming from sites, but that wasn't all encompassing. There's probably many more different data sources. That was just an example.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I have another question at the back. Bear with me, Alan.
Way in the back.
Can I just say your name and organization?
Sure. Hi, Adam. This is Paul with Mariana. We've had conversations in the past.
Hi, Paul.
How are you doing?
Good. I can't see you in person.
I love the presentation. If you kind of wrap it all up, it's basically, to me, a pipeline-less environment, right? So that's how you scale. So, and we've talked about how, you and I have been basically kind of achieving similar results with these types of platforms. What I'm curious about is, have you been able to achieve some tangible evidence of a result from cross-batch or cross-site analysis because you've been able to scale so fast this way?
You're referring to how have we actually got to a stage where we're actually getting some results?
Well, what I'm referring to is since you have this automatic contextualization, right? It's an open hallway rather than a pipeline. You have to define points of one. What I'm asking is, can you talk to the site-to-site analysis or the batch-to-batch analysis and what sort of results you see? That kind of work?
I think I kind of alluded to it a little bit. We did achieve it, but then realized maybe our digital foundation isn't quite so ready to scale across sites to achieve that quite so much yet. I had to revert back a little bit to trying to get that foundation element of data harmonization there, so that we can actually enable that at scale. So I showed examples like of sites, but then if you try and compare that across sites, some of the data won't be fully consistent unless you have that sort of harmonization, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
It's an area we don't have the answer. We haven't solved it fully yet, but know the areas to focus on now to enable it more at scale.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
Yeah, we should probably get
We'll connect later. Yeah, I gotta update you.
Okay.
Well, I think we're out of time now, unfortunately, Adam. So I'd just like to say special thanks for joining us and for the presentation, and hopefully next time we get to see you in person.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. So it was a pleasure to be involved. So thank you very much. And anybody reach out to me afterwards, I'll be online and also afterwards.
So if everyone could thank you, Adam, for his presentation.
Thank you.